Hey there, today I'll be talking about the new Vosteed Thunderbird, essentially third generation, the second generation mechanical button, but the third generation size. This is the 2.9H M390 blade with the cloud carbon fiber handle. The first gen was the G10, like the Magpie. I'll talk about comparing this later. The second gen had G10, but also had Elmex and some titanium. This is the third gen that comes strictly in the cloud carbon fiber, whether it's the blue or the green mix. But first, let's talk a little bit about what comes in the box. So mine came in the standard metal tin, normal Vosteed taco, advertising materials, sticker, patch, cleaning cloth, kind of the nice standard fare from Vosteed. Let's take a quick look at the knife itself. We're going to do the basic measurements first, and then we'll kind of do some close views of the different aspects of the knife. So that does look like just a hair under 3-inch blade. I would call the whole length maybe 7 1/8. Pocketable size 4 1/4. Let's go for thickness. Sure, that's zeroed out. Call that 4.735. And then let's do a weight. Getting 2.945 ounces. Alrighty, now some quick size comparisons. Kind of the standard fare paramilitary 2, para 3, and probably a more relevant comparison. Let's do the Gen 1 Vosteed Thunderbird in the 3.48-inch size. All right, now let's talk a little bit about the knife itself. So it does have the cloud carbon fiber. I went with the blue, the black, white. So you can see it does have some texturing for better grip. And the carbon itself does have a little bit of irregularity to it that adds to the tackiness, which I kind of like. It does have a cover, so you can switch the pocket clip if you'd like to the other side, even though the button, of course, is stay on this side. I will probably switch it to the Kaiser clip, just because I like these kind of metal clips. I've already done that to my original Thunderbird. Secured pivot on one side, D shape where it locks on one side, this side. Other side's a T8, T6s through the rest. Another closer look at the handle. The back spacer, they've swapped from the, I don't know if it's actual copper or copper color aluminum. They switched to a glow-in-the-dark plastic material. I actually have a UV light here. So now it glows in the dark. I say personally, I actually kind of miss having that copper color in the back. I think it would have been a nice flare on here, but I'm not going to complain too much about the glow in the dark. Let's open her up. So as you can see, full length milled liners here. So it's got some bit of weight reduction on there. Tonto blade, nice size fuller. Take a look at the grind there. And there, this is of course on bearings. And we'll talk about the opening. So I'm going to talk about the button in depth in a sec. So let's just go over kind of opening and ergonomics. So it does have a really nice, back and lighter it, flick it, index it, slow roll it if you really want to. As far as ergonomics go, people, you see people in review videos, they always hold things back here, but realistically, I like choking up on most knives that are giving the opportunity. That's very comfortable right here. And I will say, because this is button locks I don't often use for really hard use. It's typically like, whip it out, often choke up a little bit like that, finger goes into a relatively safe spot, use and close. But the ergonomics, so I have 2XL hands. This fits pretty well like this. I could, if I was, need to, I can get 4 full fingers on there, get my thumb up in this position. But odds are, I'm likely going to be holding it like this. But overall, ergonomics are good. As you can see comparison of me holding this version versus the largest version. And a lot of kind of some unused space there, but I guess that means people will be holding it like this. Let's go ahead and talk about the button tension. So I will say this is actually, I like the way they improve the button, and I do consider it an improvement from the Gen 1. So Gen 1, as you can see, sticks out kind of far, and I'll show you, it sticks out really far when you are having the blade out. So much so that if I'm grabbing the blade like this or like this, I'm actually a little worried they're going to catch this with the back of my thumb. So, and if you see here, you know, just the smallest amount of tension, and we already start breaking the plunge lock just a little bit. And the action to close is about right there. Now, if you look at the Gen 2 internals, you know, it starts out closer to flush. So I'm just going to slowly press the button. So look, no give, no give, no give. So we're nearly all the way in. And as you can see, I had to push that basically flush, essentially past the outer edge of this cutout, which means that it's a lot harder to accidentally press this button. I will say the button tension is stiffer as well. So this button, you know, pretty light, relatively easy to press. This button is what I would call a medium. If I'm going to compare it to some other brands out there, I would call a lot of CJRB's buttons light. So this is their titanium Echo. Very similar feeling to my Pirate. I don't have my Pirate today, but a very light button. And then as far as on the harder side, here's a CVV Cubit. This is definitely has a great tension to it. This one's very difficult to accidentally press. It sits very flush. I would say that this version of the Thunderbird for button tension sits in between them. So firm enough that I feel confident that I can use it for regular tasks, but not so firm that it's a pain to open. Go ahead and close that. Kick that. The only thing I will say is the detent strength has also very much changed. So this one I've had for probably over a year now. It still has a pretty, you know, I really got to actually give it a little bit of force to get past that detent. I'm not going to say it's a problem because it means that it's hard to fail it when you're opening it, but is a bit stiffer of a detent. This one, the detent is way lighter. So let's see, I'll try to fail it. So you can still fail it if you don't get your finger out of the way. So notice you have to use a light switch style where your finger keeps moving. Otherwise, this flipper is going to catch your finger on the opening. But because it's got that lighter detent, when you close it, you can get a little bit of bounce. So I'm going to open that. And if you don't nail the button closing, you get a little bounce on it. Which, I mean, it's one of those things where the more you carry it, the more you get used to exactly when you should be taking your finger off. I will say probably the best one I've ever felt that was the most native for having a good button. This is a Monterey Bay Knives EZ with the button. And they really nailed, you know, when to take your finger off to make it easy to get that closed and stay closed without bounce. But I will say this one, so the detent is fantastic for fidgeting, right? It is super easy to get open. I don't think I'm going to be able to swing it open like that, but you do get a little bounce on the close. But yes, so overall, that's kind of my going through the new Vosteed Thunderbird. I really do like it. I do like the improvement to the Gen2. This does end up in my pocket fairly often. Yeah, we'll see if they do other handle materials like they did with the 3.25, how that one came in the titanium and the different steels like the Elmax. And yeah, thank you for watching.